and I play red. I've been trying to spend some time on what I'm now going to dub the unloved Euro range. As things get older, they get better. I have to believe it, come on. There's a lot of Euros that come out every year, and I think we kind of get inundated with stuff and things get forgotten, they get missed. We just don't ever see them because there is now so much stuff coming out each year. So we've had a look at some older Euro games, and that's what this is this week. So today we're going to be looking at Coimbra by Virginio Gigli and Flaminia Brosini. This version is published by Eggertspiel, depending on what country you're in. Will depend, I think Plan B has it now. Not too sure. This is Eggertspiel. Let's have a look at how it plays. It is the age of discovery and Portugal's larger cities are thriving, especially Coimbra with its famous university. Players take on the role as head of one of the large influential families of the city who are trying to protect the council members, the merchants, the clerics and the scholars. Now, at the start of the game, a lot of the setup here is random. There are a whole host of these monasteries which are placed randomly on the board. The 4 influence tiles up here are placed randomly, as are the voyage cards down at the bottom here. Depending on the number of players will depend if you're going to use these fake dice or not. At anything less than 4 players, you're going to have these on the board. We're set up here for 2 players, so we have these blocking tiles in place. The number of players will also determine how many dice you roll. Again, as I said, we're doing 2 players, so we have 3 dice each and 1 spare. So if we were playing with 3 players, we'd have another 3 dice. Each player has a player board, which actually has a whole load of stuff and information on. Once you've played the game a few times, this at the bottom, this key here, will prove to be invaluable. At the start of the game, I'm going to start with my 3 dice holders here, and I'm going to start with 7 coins and 7 guards, as indicated on the tracks here. As you gain resources or spend resources, you'll mark that on your track here. Over the course of 4 rounds, you will be buying up the cards that are available in the display here. Cards do a lot of different things, so let's start by looking at our starter cards, which I've got set up on the other side of the board here. In reverse player order at the start of the game, each player chooses one of the 2 following actions. They can place their pilgrim marker into one of the 4 sections of the city, and that will then indicate where their pilgrim's going to come out of the city. Alternatively, they can take a set of character cards. So the cards come in pairs. So we've got 4 pairs currently available. Let's have a quick look and see what we fancy here. Right, I'm going to take these ones at the bottom. The first thing you do when you take a card is to increase your influence value on the matching track. So this is green for the scholars and it's a 2. So I'm going to go up 2 on the green influence track. I'm then going to check the bonus. Now this is an immediate effect, lightning bolt. It's one I'm sure we've all seen 100 times before. So I'm going to get 1 coin. So I'm going to pop that gold up there, and now I've finished with that card, maybe until the end of the game. I'm just going to pop it there. Now this purple card is a cleric and has a value of 2, so I'm going to go up the purple track 2. Again, he has an immediate bonus. Firstly, to gain 1 guard, and then to move my pilgrim. So let's just say I'd already placed my pilgrim. This wasn't the best choice. Let's pop him there, and I get 1 movement. Now for now I'm just going to do it, though I will be explaining the movement on the map a bit later. So to move him, I move to the next available dot. So I'm going to move him there, and that card is done. Now we get rid of these because everyone else has taken their cards. Oh, they've gone. Now the difference between these starter cards and the main cards, you'll notice, is these cards have a symbol up in the top corner here. It will either be a coin or a shield, and this will determine which resource you need to spend in order to buy that card. So let's pop them there. Everyone has their starting cards and place their pilgrim. So let's go into round 1. The start player will roll the dice. So let's have a look at what we've got. Players will now take it in turns to draft and place a dice, which you'll all get to do 3 times over the course of the round. There are 4 sections of the city in which you can place your dice. They all pretty much work in the same way. So let's start here, and we'll come back to the castle at the top in a bit. We're going to start in the upper section of the city. When you place a dice in this area, I'm just going to take one randomly for now, you're determining the order in which you'll get to choose cards, along with assigning a cost to whichever card you want to take. So if you put a 6 here, you're guaranteed to get the first pick of cards, but it's going to cost you a lot. So a big part of this game is getting that balance right. When you place a dice, it must always go to the right of any dice that has a higher or equal value, or to the left of any dice that has a lower value. If you have these fake dice in place, you have to respect the rules even for that. Now these 3 sections of the board all work in the same way. The castle up the top here works in a similar way, but in reverse. So the lower numbers will always get a pick before the higher numbers. The other thing to note is, if at any point you have a dice and you can't afford a card, or you don't want to take a card, you can choose to take 2 coins and 2 guards instead of a card. So let's just have a look. I'm going to go ahead and place some dice down for now, so you can see how stuff works. I didn't get the player bases out for the other dice, which is terrible. So I'm pretend these are in a base, that's fine. What do I want? Ooh. I haven't even really had a look at these cards yet. So now because that is the same, I have to place it behind, and we'll show how these work in a bit. Let's put that on there. I'm going to pop that down there for a 6. Oof. And then let's put that on there. So now all the dice are placed, we're going to move on to the dice retrieval phase. You're going to start at the top of the board, moving down, taking each space from left to right. So let's have a look at these castle tiles at the top here. These are a bit different to everything else. Now, these cost nothing, so I just take my 2 back. I'm going to pop it on the board for now, and I get to choose one of these tiles. Now, we're very early in the game. I don't have a lot of resources, so I'm going to take this tile, which gives me either 7 guards or 7 coins. And I've got that big old 6 down there, and I know what I want with that. So I'm going to add coins. So I'm going to move up on my track on my board, take that tile and pop it next to me. Now you can see these are immediate effects because they have the lightning bolt. So this one here will give you 2 points, free movement on the map. This one will give you 4 points and give you this rather funky little dice cover. Now, if you take this, let's have a look. What another player could take this, pop that there, and this is now a 5. So they then move that to the front. They'd have to pay 5 still, but they would get priority on picking a card at that point. So that is what that does. Then we have, this one's a little bit trickier. This one basically means you can immediately take one of these voyage actions. So what you're going to do is you're going to pay and in either coins or guards and pop a disc on there, and you'll score at the end of the game for those. So, but then what this part tells you is it's actually at the cost of -2. And also, at the end of the round, when you get to place on the voyages, you're going to be at -2 then. So it reduces the cost and gives you the opportunity to place on an extra voyage card, which we'll come on to in a bit. So that is the castle tiles. Now, let's move on. So here, my opponent would get to pick one of these cards. Let's say they take this one. They take the dice off. These cards will then all go because they haven't been taken, and they'll actually just be removed completely from the game for now. Now here, because we have this fake dice first, this first card on the row is going to be removed. And then that one's dealt with. And then I get to choose a card. Now I don't really know what I want. When do I know what I want? That's the ultimate question. I think I'm going to take this one. So, this one I have to pay for in guards. My dice is a 4, so I have to pay 4 guards for this card. So, I'll move that up on my player board. And this is an immediate bonus, so I'm going to get 3 points and 1 movement. But the other thing, I need to go up 2 on that purple track for the card, and then I get 1 movement. So what I'm going to do is move to that monastery. Now, whenever I land on a monastery, even if I'm passing through, I'm going to pop one of these little discs on to indicate I visited there. And this has a lightning bolt, so it's an immediate bonus. I'm going to go up 3 on the orange track, which is what that says here. So this fake dice will take the card furthest on this side, and then my opponent would get to pay 2 coins for this grey card. Pop that there. Now we move to the bottom row. Now this was the card I wanted, which is going to cost me 6 coins, which was why I took that big old chunk of coins earlier. I'm going to get this little crown token, which we'll explain in a minute, and I'm going to go up 1 on the grey track. Now this card, you can see it has an E here. That actually means that this action happens in phase E. So I'm going to take it and pop it here on my player board under this bit marked E, surprisingly. Now this board, as I say, is actually really helpful. So this is kind of where we are at the moment. We've rolled dice, placed dice, and we're currently retrieving dice. So that's actually my 3rd dice. Once everyone has taken all their dice back, we then move on to the next phase here, which is determining turn order. As you see, it says maximum of crowns. So you're going to add up the total number of crowns that people have. So I have none on my turn order placement, and I have 2 from here. So my total of crowns is 2. Yellow, however, has 1 from here, 2 from the purple tile they got, and 1 from the castle tile they got. So they've actually got a grand total of 4 crowns. So they're going to take 1st place. So they move up and I move down. After that, you're going to move on to the income phase, phase E. At every point in this game, just check to make sure that you don't have cards under the particular phase. So we have phase C here, which affects your rolling and placement of dices. It might be your cards are cheaper or the various abilities. E, which happens during the income phase, which is this card here. And then this exclamation point here is for end game cards. But for now, we're doing income. Income can be done in any order. For the 3 dice you take, you're going to get income. Income from any cards you have in this E area, which may be coins, shields, points, or even map movement. So let's have a look at what I've got. I have an orange dice, which means I get to take my orange income. Oh, but firstly I've got this. Actually, let's rewind and let's go back to this card. This card here is going to give me a coin for a start. Now this here means I can go up 1 on any of the tracks. So now part of this is going to be where opponents are on the tracks, but also if I bump up 1 here, I'm going to move from 1 bracket to the next. So I actually think going up on the coin is my best move right now. So I'm going to do that. Now I'm going to go and look at my dice. My dice gets me a gold income for the orange. So that's 5 coins. So I got 5 there. My purple is going to get me some map movement. So I have 3 movement. So let's have a look at what I want to do. I think I'm going to go here. So the dot is 1. The monastery is 2. Place a little disc on that. And that's going to get me 1 guard, 1 coin, and 2 victory points. And I've got 1 movement left, what do I want? I think I'm going to go down. And then last, but by no means least, I have this grey dice here, which means I'm going to get 3 guards. So move that up. The white dice here is essentially wild for your income. So if I'd had the white dice in there, I could choose which income I wanted. And as I said, you can do these in any order. So I can do that before I take the income. If I wanted to do it the other way around, I can. That's fine. Moving around the map here. Now, other players can't block you. So it could be that we both end up on that spot. Other players can go into the monastery and place discs. I can go in there, even though I have a disc, but I won't get that bonus again. Your movement can have you going one way and then doubling back on yourself. Oh, except for these ones. These are actually one way only. But I could move along here and then go back in the same turn. You can be on as many spots as you want. The only criteria is you only ever get to put 1 disc when you visit, and you can only gain that bonus once over the course of the game. The final phase of the round, which I said we'd come on to, is to invest in voyages. Now, these voyage cards will cost you either coins or guards and will give you points at the end of the game. Now, I'm having a quick look. I have got a lot of coins at the moment and not so many guards. So I'm probably going to be better off investing in one of the coins. Now this one's going to give me 2 victory points for each grey card I have at the end of the game, and this one for green cards, and I don't actually have many of either, so I'm going to pay the 8 coins and invest in that voyage. So my coin marker is going to go down to 7. I've paid for that and I've placed on there. And there you go. That is 1/4 of the game. As I said, everything is on your player board. So once you've played it a few times, you're going to know what you're doing. You'll play for 4 rounds and you'll know when you come to an end, because this deck is exactly the right size. So you're going to run out of cards at game end. At the end of round 4, you're going to go into final scoring. At the end of the game, there's quite a bit to score, and there's actually this very handy guide on your player aid here. So the first thing you're going to score is your voyage cards. So in this case, I'm only on the 1, I just get 9 points. Obviously, all of these are different. They're randomly drawn at the start of the game. Most of them will make sense. Like this one, for example, is your grey and orange track. You're going to add them up and divide them by 2. Your grey cards and your green cards, 2 for each of them. Each card in excess of 10 will get you 3 points, and this one will come back to you. So all of the symbols, again, make sense once you've played this a couple of times. So the first thing you're going to score is your voyages. Then you're going to score for majority on the influence tracks. Now, obviously here it shows you first place gets 7 points and second place gets 3rd. However, if there is more than 3 difference in a 2-player game, you're not going to get second place. So you need to be keeping up with whoever's leading. So here, yellow would get the 7, but I wouldn't get the 3. So not that that would ever happen, obviously. Here, I'd get the 9. And because yellow is right on my tail, they'd get the 4 points. Here, I'd get 11, 34. And again, they are maximum of 3 behind, that's fine. they would gain the 5 points, and here yellow would get 13 and I would get the 6. So you're going to score those. Then you're going to score any end game cards you might have. So let's have a quick look at some of them. I can see one here straight away. Oh, so this one here would give you 1 point for every card that has a 1 or 2 influence cost. So these all are 2 and that one's a 1. So that would get me 4 points for that. Let's have a quick look at some of the others. There's these that will give you points for your position on the track. So if I was between 7 and 9 on the green track, I'd score 5 points. Between 10 and 12, I'd score 7. So on, I think there's one of those for each tracks. This one would give me 1 point for every green endgame card I have. So there's various different abilities. The end game scoring cards have always got this exclamation mark, so look for those while you're playing. Then you're going to score for diplomas. Now you may or may not have noticed these little ribbons here. This game's got an element of set collection. So these are all the diplomas I have. I have 3 different ones. I've got this orangey one, the red one and the black one. So 3 different would get me 4 points. So I get 4. And then the one on its own, I'd get 1 point for. So you can score multiple sets. Keep an eye. There's also some monasteries that give you some bonuses there. So watch those while you're playing. And then the final thing you're going to score, you're going to add your number of guards, plus your number of coins, plus your number of crowns, and divide that by 2. So I have 8 plus 7 is 15, 16, 17, 18. So divide that by 2, I'd get 9 points in total for that. The player with the most points is the winner. So that's Coimbra. I'm a really big fan of these games where you've got limited turns, because you know how long the game's going to be. There's no point no one can stretch the game out or rush the game. Everyone is going to have exactly the same amount of turns, and you only have 12 turns in this game, which is harsh. These little castle dice holders, I don't know how well you can see them. They're adorable. They're practical and they're adorable. It's just a really nice idea. It's very satisfying, and we like a good component. We've played this a lot at all player counts. It works really nicely. I quite like these fake dice. I don't like when there's a lot of work to do. If you're only playing at 2 and you have to start I get bored with that. So I like how easy it is to play it at smaller counts. There's no extra work for you really. You plonk these fake dice down and that's it, you're done. The random elements are also nice because it means that you're never going to get exactly the same game. Moving around the map is going to depend what you want. With the coin pump up right near the city centre, that just made sense to me to go there, and then you're going to get a better income. I mean, the same could be said, this is going to pump up your movement, this is going to pump up points. So a lot of how you go around this map will depend on what these close monasteries are. So there is a fair bit of variability with the game, and we like that. We like the 12 turns, do or die. You got no room for mistakes. This was actually released in 2018, so it's not old, it's just maybe dropped off the radar a little bit. It's really good. You should find it. You should go find it, play it, watch this video again, play it, and buy it, because it's good. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, click like and subscribe. Come and say hello on the other socials, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at iPlayRed. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.